Hey guys, this is Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
It's the ML Sports Platter all over the major platforms. Go ahead and download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We're brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, and Welch & Company Jewelers. Go ahead and shop the showcase at welchjewelers.com today. That's welchjewelers.com. Wedding rings, engagement rings, bracelets, necklaces, you name it, and the special of the day, all happening at welchjewelers.com. Shop the showcase at the official jewelry store of the ML Sports Platter. Tip of the cap, thank you as well to Axe Exotic Pets, the Allen Angus Pub, and the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the ML Sports Platter as well. Let's chat with Dan Mitchell. He is a Buffalo Bills podcast host and insider. You can get him on Twitter at RealDanMitchell. Buffalo Bills YouTuber. Make sure you go check out his YouTube channel. It's terrific. Actually recording this before the Dolphins game. Want to really look at that week one against the Pittsburgh Steelers and kind of the long-term situation with this Bills team and still, obviously, a club that's very, very talented but got out to a rocky start. What Dan saw on the film and the like. Let's bring him in. Dan, how are you?
Hey, Mike, what's going on? I really appreciate you having me.
All right, what did you see on the tape? I know you're a big tape guy. I know you watched that game in depth, X's and O's, every corner of it against Pittsburgh in week one. I know Miami's coming up this week in a big bounce-back week, but what did you see with the Bills against the Steelers, and how much do you think the hype expectation, bullseye, Josh Allen contract, Super Bowl picks, how much do you think all of that had to do with the loss?
Now, don't get me wrong. Josh Allen certainly made his share of mistakes, but if I were to place blame on absolutely anything, and this was while I was watching it live, and this is while I revisited it after about 2 or 3 days of me being in the depression den, what I saw was just pure undisciplined football, specifically from our offensive line. I mean, when you look at Deion Dawkins, really throwing out about, 3 holding penalties, and then just about everybody else in the line making those contributions there as well, it's very difficult for a team to win that game when you are that undisciplined, especially in the trenches. Now, when I look at it, I'm just trying to tell myself that our offensive line was very nervous. They had it in the back of their head. They knew how dangerous this front seven from the Pittsburgh Steelers was going to be, hence why they played so scared, if you will. Now, this week coming up against Miami, now we're going to be going up against a pretty solid back seven, but I think that our offensive line is going to really be able to make those adjustments, and we're not going to see that again this coming week.
Okay, what do you think about the defense, long-term this season? Do you think that they can get some kind of pass rush consistently on quarterbacks? I mean, the talk is, well, they're going after Mahomes, right? Well, you're going after everybody. My God, the schedule's hard. You got Brady, you got Winston, you got good offensive lines, good teams. I'm assuming Mac Jones will get better throughout the season. You got to play, Ryan Tannehill and a good Titan team. I mean, they have a lot of quarterbacks you need to get to. And, oh, by the way, they faced a first-ballot Hall of Famer in Week 1 with Big Ben. I didn't think Big Ben really looked that great, and I think late in the game he got a lot of protection, though, and then his receivers made a lot of awesome plays. Is it a concern that defensive line, the pressure, getting it consistently? I know they can do it in splashes, but can they do it on a game-by-game here this year, Dan?
No, I think that this is just step one of the overall investment. There's no surprise that we ended up investing heavily in the defensive line. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're very young, right? I mean, right outside of Mario Addison and right outside of Jerry Hughes, we have a relatively young defensive line. I think that the chemistry still needs to be built. Like you said, I definitely saw some splashes. I was a lot happier with our defensive line week one than I was practically during any game of 2020 last year. So I'm seeing the appropriate steps coming up, but unfortunately, I'm not going to see us completely turn the page overnight and have a Tampa Bay Buccaneers or a Pittsburgh Steelers type pass rush this season. The only thing that I'm hoping is that we can see a slight improvement, because that's going to unlock the caliber of players and the performances that we'll see on the secondary side of things. I expect an improvement, but I don't expect a world-changing pass rush to hit this team this year.
Are you on the side of the fence of don't worry about it, sling it? That's what you do. You're one of the best passing offenses in football. Hell with the running game, or do you sit on the other side where you're like, look, running game isn't everything, but it's something. Got to have a little bit of balance there.
Yeah, Mike. So great question when it comes down to it. Now, last year I was a huge advocate for do not fix what is not broken. Love the fact that, those 5 wide sets, Josh Allen's clearly a quarterback that thrives in a pass-first offense. Unfortunately, I do believe this year we need to establish something on the ground. And I'm not saying that this is the end of the world by any means. Devin Singletary showed some flashes, more so than he did all of last year in 2020. I was just surprised that we abandoned the run that quickly, especially after that one drive where I'm pretty sure he was busting off anywhere between, high 5s to 6 yards per carry at the end of the day. I don't think that we need to go out there and find a running back in free agency. Not that there is anybody out there that would be worth grabbing at this point, but I do think that we need a bit more of a balanced approach, because I almost guarantee you the way that the Steelers were dropping 7 and 8 DBs and linebackers into coverage, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of that. We're not going to be seeing the yards after the catch that we saw last year, because teams almost know that we're going to be a team that's going to be passing the ball 75-80% of the time. So run game is definitely something that needs to be addressed. We need a balanced approach, but luckily I think the running backs on our roster can get it done. It's about play calling.
Final question for you. You've got obviously a really huge YouTube following, over 12,000 followers. What advice would you give to somebody starting out a YouTube page? How do you develop? How do you get, subscribers? Obviously, I'm listening in on that as well, because I only have a couple hundred, so I'd love to be able to get into your range. But talk a little bit about the development of your YouTube page and your show. Kind of promote what you're doing.
Yeah, really. I mean, anytime that anybody ever asks me advice on how to grow a following, what I do is I ended up researching some of the channels that I really, really respected, such as That's Good Sports. There's a guy named Tom Grassi that covers the Packers. And what I did was I ended up researching what they did, what was successful for them, and I sort of reverse engineered their formula, really just giving yourself a goal to get better and better each and every single time that you upload a video. It's about quantity, but at the same time, it's also about quality. I always tell people the majority of the time when you're putting content out there, people can sniff out when you're not being yourself. So be yourself. If you're funny, be funny when you're going out with sports news. If you're serious, be serious. Be obsessed with growing as much as you possibly can, and just make it a point to always improve your content. That's the best thing that I can say, is just reverse engineer who you like watching and then put your own unique spin on it. I
like it. Go subscribe to his page. I have Dan Mitchell there on YouTube, 12,500 followers. Pretty great stuff there. And on Twitter, @RealDanMitchell. Dan, I hope that your August 22nd tweet comes to fruition somehow. I know it's late. I know this is a drunk tweet, but the Bills are winning the Super Bowl. Let's hope that what you tweeted and felt that night after, 8 or 9 beers, or maybe even more. Who knows? Let's hope that is a good feeling here at the end of the year, huh?
Yeah, most definitely. It's called manifesting at its finest.
Dan, thank you, buddy.
All right, man. You have a good one.
Sports Platter is brought to you by our great friends at Stanley Law Offices, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and Rosie's Corner. Get on over to Rosie's if you're in and around central New York. The pizza, pasta, wings, hot and cold subs, and more. Fish Friday every week. And be on the lookout as well for their fantastic cold weather menu items coming up during the first week of October, like your Meatloaf Monday, Turkey Slop Tuesday, Chicken and Biscuit Wednesday, and a heck of a lot more. Get on over to Rosie's Corner, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Let's bring in another guest. He is the lead baseball writer for the amazing platform BallNine. You can go get him at ball9.com and on Twitter at @AMBS_Kernan. The newly minted member of the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame as well. Man, what an induction that was. Let's bring in Kevin Kernan. KK, welcome back, my man. Lot to talk about. How are you?
Great to be back, buddy. It's always a good baseball conversation, and these idiots give us a lot to talk about.
Boy, they sure do, and the Yankees are involved in that. They are back to clown baseball as we record this, lose that brutal game to Baltimore. Had an opportunity to pick up a half game in the wild card. Kevin, I mean, what's left to be said about this team at this point?
Not much. If you're still a Yankee fan and you're still holding on hope for this group, then you're insane. Much like Yankee ownership, I mean, and leadership. They're making we've talked about ad nauseum. They keep making the same mistakes. They keep Gleyber Torres, shortstop, was a mistake from the beginning. Then they put him back at second base, but they don't really bring in a shortstop because the Yankees believe in zone defense. They think they don't really need a shortstop because the nerds are smarter than any baseball fans, and certainly than the competition. So they think they can get away with guys who can't play shortstop at shortstop. So that's just one small example. Then they get things actually break their way. They get a ton of breaks. The Velasquez kid, son of a New York cop, does a great job, and they basically send him away. I mean, he's not gonna be a hitter of any substance, but he's gonna put the ball in play. He's gonna make some things happen. He can bunt. Tyler Wade, when he was playing more, he tries to do too much. Tyler Wade all the time. So but when he got in there in a kind of a regular situation, he kind of found his groove. And the Yankees were an interesting team. They were stealing bases. They were putting the ball in play. Odor was bunting.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they take it all away and they go right back to plan A, which should be plan Z. But that's the arrogance. And Michael, that's one of the things I always come back to. And it really upsets the nerds because I'm onto their game. And their arrogance is off the charts. Their elitism is off the charts. And what they're basically telling Yankee fans is, you don't know anything about baseball. Let us do it this way. We'll get in the tournament. I love when Cashman uses that term.
Oh.
And again, I'm picking on I'm making some small points here. I don't have to get to the big points. Anybody can see them. Gary Sanchez is a clown as a catcher. I mean, it's no other way to put it. And everybody says, well, they ruined him. And I was thinking along those lines, too. They ruined him. But at some point, a player has to take ownership of his career. And he's got to say, I'm not built to be on one knee all the time and let these pass. They lost the game last night. I think they would score wild pitches, but essentially pass balls. The amount of pass balls in baseball, which are called wild pitches, is another clown show. So that's some of the things that can be said now with the Yankees. And you know what? Here's the other thing. That's a hard team to like. It's a hard team to like. Stanton, it's hit or miss. If you throw the ball where he's going to hit it, 110 miles per hour. But in big situations, disappears. I think I love Judge, and I think I was the one saying you should sign him long term. They missed the boat on that. They should have done it 2 years ago, even with all the injuries, because some of the injuries kind of weren't his fault. I mean, he got hurt, but like the top rib that broke a few, they didn't diagnose that correctly. So why is that Judge's fault that they didn't diagnose it correctly? He went to the Yankees. He was in Tampa all winter, and they didn't figure out that it was a top rib broken until spring training. So come on, but it's over and over and over again. And why not reward a guy like Judge, who is a little bit older, went through the minor leagues, did well. Give him that extended contract when he's still, when he's showing signs of being a really good hitter. And then maybe he relaxes, maybe he gets better. But the Braves had enough sense to, and Acuna is a special talent, and Albies, but they signed those guys early. Why can't the Yankees? They're cheap. The Yankees are cheap. And it costs the most money to go to a Yankee game in the history of the world. You couldn't pay me to go to a Yankee game right now. So that's just some of my thoughts with the Yankees right now. And there's a lot of good people in the organization, so I'm not damning the whole organization. But I am damning the nerds and the way they treat the customers and the way they treat the team and this whole squad up thing. And and Gardner, Gardner's like a heart and soul, but he should not be playing as much as he's playing. There's so many obvious things. Bringing in Heaney, Berrios is brought into the Blue Jays, on the trade deadline. Yankees bringing Heaney. I remember seeing him in the minor leagues. He is who he is. You can't. It's unfair to him to put him in this situation. So, again, we can go all day long on the Yankees' mistakes. And yes, they are. They're not as bad as the Mets, though. I will say that. Mets are the ultimate clown show. Mets talking about being in the contention under a couple games under 500. Are you kidding me? If I was in that clubhouse, I'd say, get your head on straight, guys. You guys aren't even 500. At least the Yankees, for all their mistakes, are like 16 over or whatever the hell they are. But again, that's where we are with baseball, and that's why it's very interesting to see the run the Blue Jays have made. They you watch Vlad Guerrero, he puts the ball in play, so he's doing a lot of good things. He's not just hitting for power. I think they're going to have 3 or 4 guys that are going to be 100 RBI guys. The Yankees aren't going to have any, the way I see it.
When you speak of Vlad Jr., it's interesting. I sent out a tweet yesterday. I almost regretted it a little bit because the notifications never stop when you send out an opinion piece, and you get a bunch of assholes coming at you no matter what. But I said, if the Blue Jays get to the postseason, KK, and he wins the Triple Crown, which is still a big deal. Miguel Cabrera won it in 2012. Before that, it was Yastrzemski in 1967. That's the American League. And oh, by the way, we haven't had a Triple Crown winner since 1937 in the National League, Joe Medwick of the St. Louis Cardinals. If he gets into the postseason, he pushes him in, and he wins the Triple Crown, plus the OBP and all the rest, I think Vlad Jr. should edge out Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I think you can make a really good argument for that. And I mentioned that on a podcast yesterday, a BallNine podcast. That if I had, and again, I voted for I had many MVP votes through the years, and it was most of the years I did, it was cut and dry, whatever league it was. But if there is a battle, you have to take that into account. And he's carrying the team in playoff contention. The Angels aren't in contention, and if you look at Ohtani's numbers since the second half of the season, hitting wise, and even pitching wise now, he's not going to pitch. He's a special dude because he's doing something and he was a little bit, and he's successful at it, like Babe Ruth. So I understand that part of the argument. I think just purely on the entertainment basis of it, and that's what I broke it down with. If I had that vote, entertainment basis, I would probably vote Ohtani. But I also said if I was a writer based in Toronto and I had an MVP vote, I would vote for, no doubt I would vote for Vlad because of the things he's done. So I think you can make a really good argument for Vlad. And again, he's a son of a major leaguer. He knows how to play the game. And the at-bats, if you just watch, he takes what they give him sometimes. He hits that little dribbler through the hole. I mean, it was perfect the other night. Mets, and again, you always hear the headlines, Mets take Mets dealt a blow and contend in playoff race. First of all, they give themselves these shots in the mouth. Nobody else. So nobody's dealing them a blow. It's the Mets giving themselves their own shot, and they're not even in the contender race. But it was kind of like a perfect irony. It was an irony that when the Cardinals beat them the other day and swept the series, I think they had 3 or 4 straight hits right through the shift where players used to play but never play anymore. So, but again, none of that matters because they're way smarter than we are. They're elites. They went to Ivy League schools. They studied this stuff on baseball. So even though your eyes tell you, like, hey, where the hell's the second baseman? What the hell happened to the shortstop? Why when this pitcher's dealing and throwing 90-something away, why are we giving him away? So they're giving him that area. So again, the game makes no sense on many areas, and that's because of the people that the media bears part of the blame as well, because they elevate every time he gets an opening. How many times you got to be, Jared Porter's going to be a great GM? Zach Scott will fit right in. These are clowns. These guys are lieutenants. They don't deserve to be in charge of anything. And they proved it by their actions off the field. And so, meanwhile, good baseball people are pushed out of the game. They're set to it's really interesting how many good baseball guys and guys that played are now coaching in college. Because MLB doesn't want any part of them because the nerds are afraid of them. They're intimidated by them. So it's a big picture thing, but that's just part of my thoughts. And, if the nerds don't like it, too bad.
Yeah, and I love the analytic people that came at me on social media where they were like, well, it's OBP is a bigger stat than RBI and batting average, and I quote tweeted and I said, perfect. Vlad has a 406 OBP. Shohei's is 356. Now it's 359 and 406 respectively. But I was like, okay, cool. Well, you know what? Vlad's 50 points higher in a category that you're saying right now is so important. So guess what? He's doing everything. Speaking of doing everything in the other league, I want to hit a couple quick ones here for you, KK, and I'll let you go. Bryce Harper seems to me to be the MVP frontrunner. What are you seeing when you watch Harper every night? Every night it's home run, it's RBI, comes up in big spots. He got the big base hit last night and then a homer. Harper looks really good right now for this group.
Yeah, he's done a good job this year, and he would probably be my choice for sure. I want to see how it plays out, of course, and because there's a lot of things going on with the Dodgers and things, and the things that they do, and the Giants. You got to give those guys credit. So you got to consider some of their players too. But just for a guy carrying a team that has no pitching staff, and by the way, the Phillies went totally nerd in pitching with kind of like driveline guys and things like that running the show. And this is what they got.
Yep.
I've been told, believe it or not, that one of their people in charge of pitching basically made the statement that we're not car mechanics. We're not here to fix mechanics. We're here to shape things and do it. They don't even know what they're doing. So I hope Dave Dombrowski cleans that mess up. He's already fired some people. There's a lot more he needs to fire. But Harper has taken that team on his back. And it's got to be so frustrating because you put your team ahead. No team, I think they had 30 blown saves last time I looked.
Oh.
But think of that. Think about if they had some decent pitching, how much better Harper's numbers would look because the team would have a wild card locked up. So that's a great point, and definitely Harper. He was obviously my key player in the National League before the season started. I expected great things from him. I expected great things. I thought Acuna might be the MVP, but then he got hurt, so Harper, good for him.
33 homers, 77 RBI, 314 average, 428 OBP, and a 1.055 OPS as we record this. Harper is playing well. Hell, if they had an above-average bullpen, they might even be leading the division. There's no doubt about that.
If they had an average bullpen.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And their guys keep making the same mistakes.
I know.
0-2 sliders or 0-2 fastballs right into the power zone. And again, that goes back to the nerds because they want to do sequencing. They don't watch the game. They don't watch that this guy's dominating this hitter, but they got to come out in sequence. And they get in the pitch. I saw a nerd pitching coach for the Twins. I saw a nerd pitching coach come out the other day, and the Yankees won, which they shouldn't have won. Another one of those fake wins by the Yankees, and there's plenty of here. But late in the game, the Yankees coming back, so you got to be careful. It's eighth inning. The reliever gives up, Duffy, I think it was, gives up either a walk or something. Gets the leadoff man's on base, so you're thinking, oh gosh, here it comes. Judge is going to hit a 3-run homer eventually in this inning, and that's exactly what happened. But the next two guys, good hitters, including LeMahieu, he gets them out on fly balls to right field. So now there's 2 outs. So you can see the kid. He got that knuckle curve. He figures I'm going to live or die with my knuckle curve. And all of a sudden, this little pitching coach comes out to the mound. Guy I never saw before. I guess he's their pitching coach. And he's talking to Duffy, who just got the 2 guys out. Like, get off my mound. I just got these 2 guys out. Get out of here. I've talked to pitchers about that. And actually, I spoke to a major league pitcher yesterday about it. And he said we just told him to get lost. And the kid Duffy was all discombobulated. I think he walked the next batter on 4 pitches. And then, of course, the other guy doesn't warm up, and he's not that good anyway. They're closer, and he gives up the 3-run home run to Judge on a fastball that leaks inside right to where Judge is looking. So that's the state of where we are in baseball. And the teams like the Giants have done some yes. And again, I want to make it clear. There are some nerd things that work. You can use it, but you can't be driven by it. The Dodgers, the Rays, the Giants, they also do some standard old school baseball stuff. Like the Giants bullpen, they throw strikes. They don't walk people. They're not exactly, they're not going to blow the ball by you, but, they'll get you out on your own swings because nobody makes adjustments anymore. That's another thing. So it's never been easier to get major league hitters out than now, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me. Never been easier to get major league hitters out now. I can't tell you how many pop-ups I see, how many fly balls I see in big situations by guys that used to hit line drives. The line drive, the death of the line drive is the biggest story in baseball.
Okay, final thing in 2 or 3 minutes that I have left with you. Give me your National League sort of State of the Union. You know, the wild, wild West, the Dodgers, the Giants. You might have a team win over 100 games and have to play, not might, it will happen, have to play in a one-game showdown after the grind of the baseball season. The Cardinals have come on. We've got the Braves who have been impressing the hell out of me. What's your overall feeling of what's going on in the National League, Kevin?
Well, first of all, the second wild card, I've never liked it. It's a clown show decision added by baseball just to sell tickets, and people actually think their teams are contenders. Shouldn't be a second wild card. And this is a perfect example how the Dodgers could win 100 games and be knocked out. And St. Louis, which is capable, to come in and beat them, or the Padres, or whoever wins that last spot. The Reds, no chance, because I think the Reds don't have the pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But so the overall state of the National League is the Padres. The biggest disappointment in the National League is the Mets. Second biggest disappointment is the Padres. Tired of their act as well. They keep making the same mistakes as well. They've diluted their farm system. You look at some of the trades over the years that Preller has made, and he's the cover boy for the nerd writers too. They love him, and I like the Dodgers. I like the way they play the game. I like Betts' energy. I like their team philosophy. I like Dave Roberts. He's not afraid to sit down a guy if he needs to be sat down. And, I think the Dodgers, I'd like to see the Dodgers win the pennant and maybe win their second straight World Series, which would be kind of fun.
Kevin, this was incredible. Thank you so much for coming on as always, and continued success your way again. It was so great seeing you about a month ago in the Capital Region, and we'll see what happens the rest of this season, and nothing will change in the Bronx. Thanks, brother.
You got it, and you can find me at BallNine.com, and I also do pieces for Aaron Rodgers' website, online sports database, OSDB. So that's some good stuff there, and always, Michael, great talking baseball with you. Sports
Platter is brought to you by our great friends at Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, Welch and Company Jewelers, and the Allen Angus Pub. Before and after all the big events in Central New York, head on over to the Allen Angus Pub for the best darn Angus burger in town. Big time thanks to Dan Mitchell and Kevin Kernan. I'm Mike Lindsley. This is the ML Sports Platter. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.